Hello guys, Leon here for another podcast, and today we're talking about lessons from the book Greenlights. Greenlights, written by Matthew McConaughey, yes, the celebrity. If you haven't been following him at all, he came out with this book, which basically has a lot of his life lessons and a lot of the things that he journaled throughout his life. And there's a lot of great lessons, great stories in that book. It's quite awesome. And I listened to this book on audio, and it was awesome because he was reading it himself. You know, as I'm sure some of you know, sometimes you get an audiobook that, you know, whoever's reading it is not doing a great job of it. But in this case, you know, you have a movie star who knows how to tell stories, how to use his tone in different ways. He almost like played different characters within his story with the different voices that he made. It's freaking awesome. So if you'd like to get this book, I highly recommend it. I also got this hat. If you're watching me on video, the Greenlights hat. That's right, I'm a fan. Yeah, today I wanted to share with you 3 takeaways that I got from the book. There are many. There are loads of great lessons in this book, so it was hard to narrow it down to 3, but, you know, obviously, you know, you can check it out for more yourself. So let's get started right away. The first lesson is want it, but don't need it. I'm going to repeat that. Want it, but don't need it. And so this lesson came from when Matthew was talking about how he was just starting in Hollywood. This is before he was famous. And he was staying with a movie producer in his house. And at one point, you know, Matthew McConaughey was running out of money, and, you know, he wanted to work. So he told this guy, Don Phillips was his name, a movie producer. He told him, hey, can you get me another meeting with another agent? Get me some additions. You know, I only have a few grand left for my name. And in this moment, that guy, Don, that movie producer, basically snapped at him and told him, this town smells needy. Okay, this is what he told him. And he obviously accosted him, and he told him, get out of here, stop, you know, being needy, and come back here only when you're ready to not be needy. And of course, when he said this town smells needy, he meant Hollywood. Okay, I'm sure you guys know that Hollywood is one of those places that it's hard to get in that system. It's not like a clear linear path, right? If you want to be a doctor, you go to medical school. If you want to be a lawyer, you go to law school, etc. But if you want to get into Hollywood, it's how do you do it? There is no you know, rule book. Everybody has their own way of doing it. And basically what this movie producer was telling Matthew McConaughey is basically, hey, you can, you know, go for your dreams, but don't be needy, okay? And we've all heard those stories that Hollywood is brutal. It can drop you in a moment, okay? One moment you're in the spotlight, you're a great movie star, they want you, and then the next moment they kind of drop you and nobody calls you anymore, and you no longer have a job as an actor. So it's a brutal career to have. So, and this producer was basically getting Matthew in the right mindset that if he's going to pursue his dreams of being an actor, he can want it, but don't be needy, because, you know, it's not going to work out. And let me just read you one section in the book about that he has here about Hollywood. Here it is. Hollywood, want her, don't need her. Do this and you have a chance. Don't, you won't. Forever for rent, never to own. The one we all lust for, the constant unknown. The unattainable white buffalo that dare divinity with every moonlit tryst. Does she even exist? The answer is what we need. The question's what we want. Want her, don't need her, and she might give it up. I didn't read it as good as he did in the audiobook, but I think you get the point. Now, I wanted to also talk about how this applies to your own life. And how I'm applying this lesson to my life is that basically, have goals. Go for your aspirations. Have things that you want to accomplish. Take risks, for sure, do that. But just don't be too attached to the outcome. Don't be too needy, okay? So go for your goals, do what you need to do to get them, but at the same time, don't be super attached if it doesn't work out. Look, if you've tried plan A, it didn't work out, you can drop it and start pursuing plan B, right? Don't be so attached that you only have one path in life that you can follow, and if it doesn't work out, you're screwed. You get too identified with that type of thinking, and you're going to cause yourself a lot of suffering. So definitely have those goals, have those aspirations, but at the same time, just don't be too needy. And this also goes to the fact that if you're constantly in a needy vibration when you're going for something or doing something, you're basically telling the universe from a spiritual point of view that you don't have it. And so when you're constantly in this needy vibration, you're never going to get it because you're always in the I don't have it yet mode, okay? Instead, you're better off working towards your goals, working towards whatever you want to achieve, being in a vibration that you already have it. So you don't need it, okay? So again, want it, but don't need it. All right, let's go to lesson number 2 here. And that is, don't be afraid to rebrand yourself at any point. And so here's the thing. Again, from the book, what he talked about is that at one point he started to become the romantic comedy god, okay? Every script that he was getting is for another romantic comedy. And he was very successful, he made a lot of great movies, starring some really great roles with other great actresses. And he made a lot of money doing that. And that's what he was famous for many years. But then at some point, he kind of got tired of just being cast in romantic comedies. And he said that basically he could read the script of a romantic comedy and be able to do it next day and be able to act on that script the next day. So it was, as you can imagine, kind of boring. So he wanted to challenge himself. He wanted to do some dramas. He wanted to be more of himself. He didn't want to continuously, do romantic comedies for the rest of his life. But that's what he was getting scripts for, And so it was a very scary decision, but he actually stopped accepting scripts for romantic comedies at one point. And he made a vow with his wife that this is what he's going to do. And his wife, Camila, told him, okay, we know what's going on. And he basically told her, look, that means that there isn't going to be any money coming in for a while. And she kind of gave him her support. So basically, he decided to rebrand himself. He decided to no longer do what he didn't like. And one of the things that, one of the quotes that I want you to read to you is he said, if I couldn't do what I wanted, I wasn't going to do what I didn't, no matter the price. And he does tell a story in for one of the scripts, for one of the roles that somebody wanted him to be cast in. It was another romantic comedy. They offered him something like $5 million at first, then it was $8 million, $10 million, and then the last offer was like $14.5 million to play this role. And he just said no every time because it wasn't about the money, right? He just wanted to stop doing that type of work. It was no longer fulfilling. And so he made a commitment to just not take any of those roles that he didn't like, and hopefully get the kind of scripts that he would be interested in. And it took him a long time. He waited 10 months. I think he ended up waiting about 20 months before he started getting the scripts that he wanted. And this is a big gamble in Hollywood to take, because if you're cast as a certain kind of person, you know, you might as well take the money, which is what a lot of actors do. They get put in a box, and then, you know, they want to continue working, so they just keep taking those roles, even though they don't like it, they don't enjoy it. It is work after all, right? And it's great money. And Matthew did say himself that he was making great money. And so it was a big gamble that he took. But after about 20 months, he finally started getting calls for different types of roles, the kind of roles that he wanted to play. And as we all know, everything worked out. You know, he was cast in the Lincoln Lawyer and in Mud, in the Dallas Buyers Club. So he finally got the kind of roles that he wanted to play. And obviously we know he's a great actor with great range, but he had to rebrand himself for us to see that side of him. So he made that choice, and that was very courageous of him to do that and to kind of basically, rebrand himself. And now if we think about our own lives, are we willing to rebrand ourselves from time to time? I know I had to rebrand myself many times over. I think when I grew up, for example, I was very much into sports, and I was playing a lot of soccer. And then later on, I got into dancing heavily, and I was a ballroom. I'm a professional ballroom dancer, so I did that for a long time, and that's a certain kind of lifestyle. And I was traveling and training with coaches and competing all over the US. And then later on, I had to transition to becoming an entrepreneur, and I had to rebrand myself and basically cultivate a new identity for myself. And now I'm running these businesses. Yes, I'm still a dancer as well. You know, it's not like you just drop one or the other. You know, you could be both. But the point is that don't be afraid to rebrand yourself, to try something new, to cultivate a new identity. For me, I remember when I was teaching dancing for a while, after a while, it became a bit too predictable, and it wasn't fulfilling me anymore. Exactly like it was for him not being fulfilled doing romantic comedies. I just didn't enjoy coming to work every day to my dance studio and teaching the same things that were so easy for me were so hard for newbies. I just, at the end of the day, I just didn't feel like I was being challenged enough, and I was just wanting to go to that next thing that I was meant for. And then entrepreneurship, I mean, I got to tell you, it kicks my butt every day, and it's definitely something that I find challenging still, and I'm still enjoying doing it right now. And even within certain industries, like even in entrepreneurship, you could also start different companies. Let's say, you're doing one business, you're running one company for a while, and then you've been doing that for a couple of years or maybe 5 years, and you no longer want to pursue that. Well, you can switch gears, maybe sell that company and start a new company instead, or add another company. Like I did passionfordancing.com for a while, and then I wanted a new challenge, so I started backintelligence.com, another online company. Now I'm doing this podcast because this is a different self-expression for me. And so I'm always trying something new, always rebranding myself because I enjoy it. And, the worst thing you can do is kind of be too complacent and, not challenge yourself enough and kind of deteriorate. So, yeah, definitely a great lesson. Don't be afraid to rebrand yourself. Let's move on to lesson number 3, and that is setting rituals to get yourself through tough times. In the book, when Matthew was about I believe it was a teenager or so, maybe in high school, I want to say, or maybe college. I'm not too sure about it, but it doesn't matter. He was on the younger side. He basically went to Australia as an exchange student, and he spent there about 6 months to a year with a host family. And boy, oh boy, from his narration, that host family that he stayed with was kind of a nightmare, okay? They were really weird people. And I'm not going to go into all the different things that they did that was strange, but he was definitely shook up at that stage. But he did not give up. He decided that he was going to stay there no matter what, and he was just going to go through the hell that he was in with this, strangers, basically, this strange family that was hosting him. And one of the things that I can tell you they did was they tried to make him kiss a girl in front of them just for their own amusement in public. They wanted him to go and kiss her because maybe she had a crush on him or whatever. But they were trying to make him do it in front of like a crowd of people. It was at a party of theirs at home. And he actually declined to do that. So he stood up for himself. But anyway, that's just one of the weird things that this host family was doing with him, kind of toying with him in a way. But basically, to keep himself sane, what he did is, let me read you out here. He had started to write letters to himself as well as to friends in the United States. He became a vegetarian. He ran 6 miles a day. He was celibate. And he also started to set some clear boundaries. So he stood up for himself. For example, when this host family, they told him to start calling them mom and dad, he said no, he wasn't going to do that. So he stood up for himself in those kinds of moments. So that's one of the ways he was setting boundaries. But all these things that he did, he became a vegetarian, he ran 6 miles a day, he was journaling all the time. It was basically to keep his sanity, okay? To know what's true, to stay grounded, to not freak out. Eventually he did, after about, I think it was 6 months, he transferred himself to another host family. So he actually, got himself out of that hell situations, but it took him some time. And anyway, the lesson here that I took away is that during hard times, when you cannot really change anything, so in his circumstance, he was committed to staying with this host family. During those tough times, when we all encounter tough times sometimes, it's important to have certain rituals, certain things that you are doing consistently that keep you grounded or keep you present, keep you in the right frame of mind. Okay, and one of the best things you can do, for example, is a morning routine. Everybody talks about a morning routine. You get up, you prime your brain for something. A lot of people will do some form of exercise. They'll do a meditation. They'll read through their goals. And that kind of gets their mind set for the rest of the day. That's a simple example of doing some rituals in your daily life to kind of set your intention, to remember who you are, to remember what you stand for, etc. So having certain rituals, doing certain things consistently can really help you stay on track, keep sane, remember your why, and all that kind of stuff. So that's what that lesson had taught me. And that's it. That's all I have for you for today. I hope you liked this podcast. And if you did, please subscribe to it either on YouTube or on iTunes. Also, make sure you review this podcast on iTunes. That would mean the world to me. Otherwise, see you guys next time.